If you make $50,000 a year, $5 a day is 1.5% of your income. It's the price of a coffee, the kind of money you wouldn't notice if it left your account. And in 30 years, at the boring long-term stock market return, that 1.5% turns into roughly $230,000. A lot of retirements end broke because nobody believes a number that small can do work that big. Benjamin Franklin believed it. He retired from business at 42, which in 1748 was almost unheard of. And the way he did it had almost nothing to do with his print shop. It came down to 5 habits he ran every day for decades, then wrote down in a 13-page essay called The Way to Wealth. Franklin was 20 years old when he started carrying a pocket ledger, income on one page and expenses on the other. He kept it for the rest of his life. By the time he was running the busiest print shop in Philadelphia, he could tell you in shillings what he'd spent on candles in March. The discipline isn't the point, the discovery is. When you track your spending for 30 days, you find a number leaving your account every month that you cannot name to save your life. Subscriptions, delivery fees, small purchases your brain has already filed under necessary. For a lot of working people, that number lands somewhere between $200 and $600 a month. And it's the exact difference between broke and saving. So before you change anything, find your number. For 1 month, write every charge down. You could use an app for it if it's easier, or a simple notebook. The whole idea is to just see it, not to restrict your expenses. The most quoted line from The Way to Wealth gets misremembered constantly. Franklin's argument was that working harder and spending less, at the same time, on purpose, was the only thing that ever built a real fortune. Either one alone gets you nowhere. When he opened his own print shop in Philadelphia at 24, he worked 18-hour days, lived in a single rented room, and delivered his own newspapers in a wheelbarrow so the town would see he couldn't afford a horse. That detail was advertising. He wanted customers to know he was hungrier than his competition. Meanwhile, every shilling not spent on rent or food went straight back into more press capacity. If you earn an extra $200 this month and your lifestyle climbs by $200 to match, the raise is gone. The gap between earning and spending is the only thing that ever compounds, and almost every household closes the gap the moment it opens. Franklin invented the phrase, "time is money," in 1748 in a letter called Advice to a Young Tradesman. 3 words that got repeated for the next 3 centuries, almost always quoted without the math underneath them. Franklin's actual argument was a calculation. A tradesman who can earn 10 shillings a day at his trade is paying 5 shillings out of his own pocket for the privilege of sitting idle for half an afternoon. Idle time costs you exactly what you could have earned in it. Take your annual income and divide it by 2,000, the rough number of working hours in a year. That number is what your hour is actually worth. Now look at the next task that comes up in your week and ask whether you'd pay your hourly rate to do it. Spending 2 hours assembling cheap furniture to save $40 when your hour is worth $35 is a deal you would not sign on paper if someone handed it to you. The trick is that Franklin ran this calculation in his head about almost everything he did. This rule works on people who lack willpower because it bypasses willpower entirely. By his 40s, Franklin had quietly built something unusual for colonial America. He set up arrangements with younger printers across Charleston, New York, and the Caribbean, where he supplied the press and the credibility while they ran the shops and sent him a fixed cut of profits every quarter. Money arrived at his door from 4 colonies before he ever sat down to pay his household bills. The point isn't the printing empire, the point is the order. Money he was keeping arrived before money he was spending went out. You have the modern version available for free. The morning your paycheck hits the account, before you look at the balance, an automatic transfer moves a fixed amount somewhere you cannot easily touch. $10, $50, whatever doesn't make you flinch. And no, you don't wait to see what's left at the end of the month. Nothing is ever left at the end of the month. The transfer has to fire first, or it won't fire at all. He that goes a-borrowing goes a-sorrowing. Franklin wrote that in Poor Richard's Almanac in 1758. It's the kind of line that ends up on a fridge magnet and stops doing any work. What Franklin did about it, once he had capital, was move to the other side of the transaction. He lent small sums to apprentices, neighbours, and business associates. Some of those loans came back with interest. Others came back as equity in new ventures. and a handful never came back at all, which he priced in from the start. He understood from both sides of the table that one party in any loan is always working for the other. That translation cuts hard in modern life. A credit card carried month to month at average rates runs you about 24% in annual interest, paid quietly to a bank. 84-month car loans exist because the dealer makes more on the financing than the car. The 0% furniture plan almost always hides a marked up sticker price covering the cost of the loan. Every dollar you owe at interest is a dollar working for someone else instead of you. Moving to the lender side starts smaller than people expect. Park your savings somewhere that pays 4% and you're lending to a bank. Buy an index fund and you're lending to the largest companies in the world. The mechanic works the same at $50 as at $50,000, which means waiting until you're rich to start has never made sense. Franklin died in 1790, worth roughly $2 million in today's dollars, plus a printing network that paid his heirs for another generation. He earned about what a successful printer earned. The gap between him and every other successful printer of his era is that he ran these 5 habits for 50 years without breaking them. Pick one of the 5. Start it this week.